Let's talk about something that really shook the internet, because this wasn't gossip, it wasn't rumors, and it definitely wasn't hate for the sake of hate. This was about value, credibility, and reality. Meghan Markle decided to sell an $18 bookmark, a plain, white label bookmark, and somehow that small product turned into a massive public embarrassment. And the reason it blew up the way it did is because people didn't just look at the bookmark. They looked at who was selling it, what she represents, and who she keeps being compared to. And that's where Victoria Beckham enters the conversation, not with insults, not with drama, but with something far more damaging: contrast. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When Meghan put out that product, people didn't ask, "Is this legal?" They asked, "Why is this $18? Because within hours, consumers had already identified near-identical bookmarks available online for a fraction of the price. Same shape. Same finish. Same minimal design. No artisan story. No limited edition explanation. No craftsmanship narrative. And that matters, because in luxury branding, price without story is just arrogance. That's not opinion, that's how the market works. If you're charging premium prices, the product has to justify it beyond your name. Now compare that to Victoria Beckham. And this is where Meghan's problem really becomes obvious. Victoria Beckham sells expensive products, too much more expensive. But she didn't just wake up one day and slap her name on random items. Her brand was built slowly, painfully, over years of being mocked, doubted, and criticized. She studied fashion. She hired experts. She failed publicly before succeeding. Her prices are high, yes, but they're anchored in design control, fabric sourcing, tailoring, and consistency. When people pay Victoria Beckham prices, they may complain, but they understand what they're paying for. Meghan's bookmark situation exposed something deeper than pricing. It exposed a pattern. Time and time again, Meghan enters spaces that already have standards: media, philanthropy, podcasts, lifestyle branding, and instead of respecting those standards, she seems to assume status alone should carry the value. That's where the backlash comes from. People don't hate success. They hate being talked down to through pricing that feels disconnected from reality. An $18 bookmark wouldn't be a scandal if it came with design innovation or exclusivity. But this didn't. And here's where the Victoria Beckham comparison becomes quietly brutal. Victoria doesn't need to comment. She doesn't need to roast anyone publicly. Her entire career is the response. One woman built a business that survived skepticism and proved itself over time. The other keeps launching projects that feel rushed, underdeveloped, and overly monetized. That's not hatred, that's observation. The market responds to effort. The market punishes shortcuts. And Meghan's bookmark felt like a shortcut disguised as curated lifestyle. What really fueled the backlash was how predictable it felt. People online didn't sound shocked, they sounded tired. Tired of products that feel like branding exercises instead of genuine offerings. Tired of moral messaging paired with premium pricing. Tired of being told something is meaningful when it's clearly mass-produced. The bookmark wasn't offensive, it was symbolic. It became a symbol of how Meghan's commercial ventures often underestimate the intelligence of the audience. And this is where influencers, commentators, and even neutral consumers stepped in. They didn't tear her down personally. They questioned the math. They questioned the sourcing. They questioned the story. And when those questions didn't have satisfying answers, the product collapsed under its own weight. That's how modern criticism works. You don't need tabloids anymore. You need screenshots, price comparisons, and receipts. Meanwhile, Victoria Beckham's name kept coming up because she represents the opposite trajectory. She didn't rely on sympathy branding. She didn't weaponize her narrative to sell products. She let the work speak, even when people laughed at her early efforts. That difference matters. And whether Meghan likes it or not, she invited comparison by stepping into the lifestyle and luxury space. Comparison isn't bullying, it's business. This bookmark episode didn't destroy Meghan's career, but it did damage something more fragile: trust. Trust that when she sells something, it has depth. Trust that her ventures are thoughtfully built rather than opportunistic. Once trust erodes, every future launch becomes harder. Every price tag gets questioned. Every product faces skepticism before it even hits the market. That's the long-term cost, not memes, not jokes, but credibility loss. So no, Victoria Beckham didn't need to roast Meghan out loud. Reality did it quietly. The market did it efficiently. And the audience did it honestly. This wasn't about jealousy or hate, it was about value meeting expectation. And in this case, the bookmark didn't just fail to justify its price, it accidentally exposed why Meghan keeps struggling to convert attention into lasting respect.